We know him as Wolverine from X-Men, Jean Valjean from Les Misérables, the Greatest Showman Phineas Barnum, and the one Dr. Cox from the series Scrubs hates. The unsurpassed Hugh Jackman won not only the hearts of fans of Marvel Comics, but also fans of dramas, romantic comedies, thrillers, and of course, musicals. However, with a gloss of Hollywood glamour, the actor's reality is full of constant struggle, starting from not being able to have children of his own and ending with fighting cancer and divorce after 27 years of marriage. So what is Hugh Jackman really like? What childhood trauma has the actor struggled with all his life? How did Hugh prepare for the role of Wolverine? And what's behind his internet war with Ryan Reynolds? Today, we'll answer all these questions and even more, so get comfortable. This is the Biographer channel, and we are starting. Hugh Michael Jackman was born in Sydney, New South Wales, to Grace McNeil and Christopher John Jackman, a Cambridge-educated accountant. His parents were English and came to Australia in 1967 as part of the 10-pound Palms immigration program. Thus, in addition to his Australian citizenship, Jackman also had British citizenship through his parents. Hugh's dad and mom were devout Christians. Jackman has 4 older siblings and is the second child of his parents born in Australia. He also has a younger half-sister from his mother's remarriage. Jackman attended Pymble Public School, where he began participating in school productions at the age of 6. His first role was the king from the play Camelot. The actor recalled that his crown was too big and constantly fell on his face, and although he was very afraid that he might suffocate because of this, his fear immediately disappeared as soon as laughter was heard from the audience. Then Hugh convinced himself that if people were laughing, he was playing well. Since then, he's become interested in theater. When he was 8 years old, Jackman's parents divorced, and the boy stayed in Australia with his father and 2 brothers, Ian and Ralph. His mother returned to England with Jackman's 2 sisters, Zoe and Sonia. 5 years later, Jackman's father went to England in the hope of reconciling with his wife. Dad went off to England to bring her back, but by this point she was married to someone else with a kid, Jackman told The Hollywood Reporter. It was really complicated. So, when Dad arrived back not 3 weeks later as planned, but 5 days later, I just knew. I was old enough to go, this is not happening. For little Hugh, such his mother's decision became a very traumatic experience, and for many years, he suffered from the abandoned child complex. The anger Jackman felt towards his mother helped him get into the Wolverine image and portray his bestial side. He had to go through therapy, and after years of resenting his mother, talk to her. It was after this conversation that Jackman was finally able to let go of his anger and understand her actions. As I grew older, I gained an understanding of why Mom did leave. We've made our peace, which is important, the actor said. Despite the separation from his mother, Hugh's childhood with his father and older brothers was no longer so bad, but on the contrary, it was full of funny memories. So, one night the guys watched the horror movie Salem's Lot, which the star still considers the scariest horror movie of all time. And all because after watching it, Ralph, who shared a room with him, began to mock the little one, hiding under the bed and making strange noises. All this happened in the evenings before going to bed. So the seriously scared Hugh was afraid to look under his own bed from where he heard a strange rustle. It was only a month later that Jackman finally decided to see what was going on there and found his brother there, who was giggling. The first trip of the future star to the cinema was no less impressive. The Wizard of Oz was screening. The boy was so scared of the monkeys depicted in the fairy tale that he hid behind the seat, but his father was in no hurry to leave the cinema.
And there was no let's leave the theater. I'm sure he was like, all right, you'll be fine, kid. Let's finish watching the rest of it. So there's that. Clearly, still traumatized by it.
Hugh's father was not very fond of joking and being the cause of ridicule either. He was quite strict, and the children had a very ordered life. The actor believes that it was his father's upbringing that pushed him to choose an acting profession. Despite his materialism and practicality, Christopher Jackman has always nurtured a thirst for knowledge in children. He considered education to be the most important thing. He instilled in children the understanding that education was the best medicine for self-doubt. Therefore, if a person feels insecure about something, then it's necessary to prepare for it better. It is this view of things that will be decisive for Hugh in the future. In addition, his father supported the future actor in his endeavors. He'd tell me, "You've got to love what you do because it's going to take a lot of your effort and time," he recalled. He had only one reservation about me being an actor. He said, "I think you're too thin-skinned." And I am fairly thin-skinned. Hugh still finds it difficult to read reviews about his acting, but he believes that such sensuality is also an actor's strong point because it's necessary for a better understanding of his character. The actor recalled that one day on April Fool's, the elder Jackman read an article about Volvos and their authenticity in the newspaper, the Sydney Morning Herald. It was written that you can find out if the car is real by checking the logo on the hood. This logo was jokingly posted upside down. Christopher immediately ran to check his own car because their family had a Volvo. He was pretty nervous until he found out that it was just a joke from the editorial office. Even then, Hugh's father did not appreciate the journalistic humor. As a child, Jackman loved the outdoors, spending a lot of time at the beach, hiking, and traveling on school holidays all over Australia. He wanted to see the world. I used to spend nights looking at atlases. I decided I want to be a chef on a plane because I'd been on a plane and there was food on board. I presumed there was a chef. I thought that would be an ideal job. After graduating from elementary school, Hugh attended Knox Grammar School for Boys in Sydney's Upper North Shore. Jackman's love of acting grew even stronger every year. At the age of 10, he saw the school play Man of La Mancha, and it inspired him to improve his own acting skills. He continued to participate in school plays. For example, in 1985, Hugh played the main role in the play My Fair Lady. But the guy really began to think about a career as an actor after attending church with his father at the age of 13.
So I was telling everybody, I said, she's unbelievable. Like, she got picked up first, I got picked up second. She took off her sunglasses. She's not a star at all. Day 2, I get picked up and I come out ready to see Deb. Deb's not in the car. I said, what happened to Deb? She said, oh, I had a little phone call saying, please make sure you pick me up last.
However, the guy's preferences were not limited to theater and the art of words. Hugh, being flexible and capable by nature, played rugby and cricket, participated in the high jump, and was on the swimming team. As a teenager, Jackman was lanky. His nickname was Sticks. Active and generally the good boy, bar a brief angsty period as a teenager when he would tell teachers to F off and all that. Jackman didn't always direct all of his teenage energy in the right direction. He said that he and his friends liked to bang their heads against school lockers until they had a dent in them. Thus, there were competitions for the title of the toughest and craziest. In playing rugby, my rage would come out. Rage that I identify as Wolverine rage. The actor noted, I'd be somewhere in a ruck in rugby, get punched in the face, and I'd just go into a white rage. But nevertheless, Jackman really took everything from his school years. He played sports and got good grades, and in 1986 he even became the school captain of the Cadet Corps. After graduation, Jackman decided to take a one-year break to travel and work. He ended up in England at the age of 18 and was hired at the prestigious Uppingham School in the East Midlands as an assistant housemaster. Although he spent most of his time teaching physical education and coaching sports teams, part of his responsibilities also included tutoring English and drama for freshmen who were only a few years younger than him. An 18-year-old Aussie teaching English to a bunch of English kids. The actor laughed, recalling the experience. I thought, if that was my school fees, I'd be pretty annoyed. But it seems he was very well liked at boarding school. Retired housemaster Richard Boston called Jackman, quote, a wonderful, open person, noting that he would have been a brilliant school teacher if his career had followed this path. Moreover, Hugh's love of sports has not gone away. The star is still fond of basketball and kayaking and is also a fan of several football clubs. When his intermediate year ended, Jackman returned to Australia and enrolled at the University of Technology, Sydney, in the Faculty of Journalism. Then he was supposed to become an international freelance journalist, but the years of study made Hugh think about the correctness of his chosen profession. I just accept what everybody says, he said. I'd have ended up getting an interview with a third world dictator and just believing everything he said. I think I would have found it really difficult. After spending the summer working for the Arianga Aboriginal community in the western desert of Central Australia, Jackman reluctantly returned to Sydney for his final year of university, and it took him several extra credits to earn his degree. He went to the theater department because he heard that it was easy to pass. He did not even suspect that the production of Václav Havel's The Memorandum would push him to become a professional actor. His teacher gave him the lead role, but Jackman hesitated. I begged my teacher. I said, I'm in my finals, I can't do this play. The star recalled, but I loved it. Have you ever had that feeling where you've found your people, your tribe? In that week, I felt more at home with those people than I did in the entire 3 years at university. At the same time, he performed in an amateur theater, but it was more of a hobby because Jackman did not think that he'd be able to make a living by acting. However, after graduating from the University of Technology in 1991, he still decided to try to build an acting career, and for this, he took another step. He enrolled in a full-time drama school under the program called The Journey at the Actors Centre in Sydney. He had no desire to be a professional journalist. His studies absorbed him completely, although at first Hugh was just trying to fit in. It seemed to him that everyone was cooler, more talented, and more natural than him on stage. The actor believes that such a critical attitude towards himself helped him to build a career in the future and treat any auditions more responsibly. He said about his training in acting, "It wasn't until I was 22 that I ever thought about my hobby being something I could make a living out of. As a boy, I'd always had an interest in theater, but the idea at my school was that drama and music were to round out the man. It wasn't what one did for a living. I got over that. I found the courage to stand up and say, I want to do it." Jackman was a persistent student, and this helped him become a better actor and improve his acting skills. One of the guest directors, Ross McGregor, noted that Hugh was very focused on learning as much as possible, instilling a sense of play, risk-taking, and adventure. At this time, the young man not only studied, but also worked part-time in a gym called Physical Factory. Not as a coach, but as an administrator. In fact, he didn't even like to train. "I never pumped weights," he admitted. "I thought they were crazy, those guys." His best friend, Coach Michael Ryan, later said, "We used to call him chicken legs." However, Jackman had no problem attracting women to the gym. Ryan recalled he was getting a hell of a lot of attention. One day, Annie Semler, the wife of Oscar-winning cinematographer Dean Semler, approached him at the reception. The woman was there during an excursion to sell gym tickets. After looking at Hugh for a few seconds, she said, "You're going to be a big star. Don't worry, it's all going to happen so fast. Listen to me. I'm a white witch." However, frightened by such a situation, Jackman did not believe Semler's words. At that moment, he was only thinking about her credit card, which he later jokingly recalled. However, Hugh received not only Semler's money, but also her magic. The next day, he signed a contract with an agent named Penny Williams. Soon after, he was offered a role in the popular Australian soap opera Neighbours. The show has long been a launching pad for many future stars, including Kylie Minogue, Russell Crowe, Margot Robbie, and the Hemsworth brothers. It seemed like a chance that should not be missed. However, at the same time, he was interviewed for the acting program of the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts and was accepted. So now, Hugh was in a real dilemma. He could film in a series that would surely open the way for him to the world of television and then, perhaps, to the cinema, or learn acting and improve his skills. And while the promise of a 2-year contract on a popular TV show was quite tempting, Jackman eventually turned it down in favor of extending his drama education for another 3 years. "I'd learned just enough to know how little I knew," he said. The study was quite intense, but Hugh did not complain. He was immersed in all aspects of learning from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. There, the future actor played Shakespeare, honed circus skills, as well as singing and dancing. For such versatility of talent, the young man received the nickname Jack of all trades. As much as those years made an impression on Jackman, he also made an impact on the staff and students at the school. It was clear that he had the talent, drive, and charisma to succeed at a very high level, said his former drama teacher Chris Edmond. He has that rare ability to make an audience of 5 or 12,000 feel included and to have experienced something special in his presence. Perhaps that's why he was named the most promising newcomer of the school in 1994. After graduating from drama school, the actor signed a contract with himself for 5 years. He'll give all this time and energy to this dream, and only then will he see whether to continue on this path. I'd already spent 8 years working in restaurants and gas stations, so I'd seen enough small businesses to understand that that's what acting is. A small business. You have to put everything into it before you can really say you've had a go. On the evening of his final exam at the Academy, Jackman received a call and was offered a role in the miniseries Corelli. Hugh later joked, "I was technically unemployed for 13 seconds." Corelli, developed by Australian actress Denise Roberts, was a 10-episode drama series on ABC. It was Jackman's first major professional work. The series centers on an inexperienced criminal psychologist, Louisa Corelli. She's sent to a men's prison to work with prisoners, and she gradually builds a relationship with one of them, a violent criminal named Kevin Jones. Jackman was cast as Jones, and acclaimed actress Deborra-Lee played the role of Louisa. And although the series ultimately failed, it changed the actors' lives forever. Jackman fell in love with Furness and was very embarrassed by it. "I was terrified when I realized I had a crush on the star of the show. I was like, my first job, the leading lady. She's going to look at me like this young little puppy." He was so nervous that he didn't talk to her for a week. It took some courage for Hugh to make the first move at a small dinner he hosted after the filming of Corelli was over. The actress approached him and asked why he stopped communicating with her because Deborah thought she had angered a colleague on the set. Jackman confessed his feelings to her and assured her that it would pass soon. But the actress unexpectedly reciprocated him. Jackman and Furness's romance quickly developed into a strong relationship. The actor has repeatedly stated that when he met his Deb, he immediately realized that she would be his wife, and added, "She's the greatest thing that ever happened to me." However, the actress did not plan to connect her life with Hugh because she did not see her life with the actor. Moreover, he was younger than her. At one point, she even wanted to break off the relationship, but her lover did not allow her to do so. Instead, he proposed to her just 4 months after the beginning of the novel. Deb agreed to her surprise. The actors were already married at St. John's in Toorak, Victoria, a suburb of Melbourne, on April 11, 1996. Jackman personally designed a wedding ring for Furness with the inscription in Sanskrit Om Paramar Mainamar, which translates as, "We dedicate our union to a greater source." After Corelli, Jackman had a hard time finding a new job. However, after a while, he still got a role in one episode of the crime drama Blue Heelers, and in several episodes when Guy Pearce in a western called Snowy River, The McGregor Saga. While he was starting to make a name for himself, playing good-looking guys on television, Jackman's stage background was making itself felt. The actor continued to be hired to create musicals all over Australia. This is how his stage music career began. Hugh had outstanding vocal abilities, and besides, he could play 3 instruments: piano, guitar, and violin. So, already in 1996, Jackman appeared on the Melbourne stage where he played Gaston in a local production of Beauty and the Beast. Interestingly, Hugh couldn't sing before this job, and the creators of the production were in real despair because they could not find an actor for the role of Gaston. When the actor's agent suggested that he audition, he was very surprised because he had never sung before, but his acting skills were appreciated so highly that the producers agreed to pay for his vocal lessons. They did not even suspect how this would further affect the career of the young actor. They took a bet on me, and in my contract, it said, must have a singing lesson every week. They paid for me, a lead in a musical, to have singing lessons. So the most surprising left turn of my career has been musicals, and I love them.
But in my contract, it said must have singing lesson every week.
Oh, go away.
They paid for me. I'm a lead in a musical to have singing lessons. So the most surprising left turn of my career has been musicals, and I love them.
Yeah.
It was his first experience singing and dancing in a show of this magnitude, and Hugh was happy to accept the physical demands of the role. However, one day, he overdid it a little. The actor had to urinate on stage after he drank 4 liters of water to fight dehydration on the advice of a doctor. Literally, I'm picking up Belle, and as I pick her up, I stop singing, Jackman admitted, and right in that moment, I realized the muscles you need to release in order to sing are the ones you do not want to release if you need to go. But the show had to go on, and Hugh didn't even blink. Finished his performance. The audience was so engrossed in his performance that no one noticed anything. After that incident, the actor made it a rule to go to the bathroom 5 minutes before the start of each performance so as not to relive this experience again. At the same time, such professionalism of the young actor eventually impressed producer and director Trevor Nunn, who chose Hugh for the role of Joe Gillis in the Australian debut of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Sunset Boulevard. Jackman has received awards from the Mo Awards and the Australian Variety Club, as well as numerous critical acclaims. He also completely won over Nunn, strengthening their professional relationship and, unknowingly, opening his way to the music scene of the world and Broadway. Thanks to Sunset Boulevard, when it came time to film the new West End production of the classic Rodgers and Hammerstein musical Oklahoma, Nunn saw no one else but Jackman in the role of Cowboy Curly. During the audition, Hugh had to not only sing, but also read some excerpts from the play. The actor chose bravura from Shakespeare's Henry IV, which both the director and the producers liked very much. However, during the performance of the song from Oklahoma, Oh What a Beautiful Morning, the young actor began to get nervous and slightly confused the words. Fortunately, by that time, everyone present was already delighted with Jackman and started singing along, which helped him finish the audition and get the role. Oklahoma became a big hit in London, turning Jackman into a real international star. Everyone who worked with Hugh on the production praised the actor for his ability to show Curly in an original light and agreed that the success of the musical owed much to him. The critics agreed. Reviews of the actor's performance were very good, and he received an Olivier Award nomination for Best Actor in a Musical. Jackman said, I totally felt like it can't get any better than this. On some level, that production will be one of the highlights of my career. The production was filmed for television and broadcast both in the UK and on PBS in the US, where American viewers met the charismatic Jackman. Jackman played his breakthrough role in 2000 as Wolverine in Bryan Singer's X-Men. The film was based on the Marvel Comics series of the same name. It tells the story of a group of mutants whose superhuman abilities cause distrust of ordinary people, but who fight to protect them from villains.
What kind of a name is Rogue?
I don't know. What kind of a name is Wolverine?
Singer originally offered the role to Russell Crowe, but the actor refused because he had just finished filming in the epic Gladiator, which won the Oscar. Instead, Crowe advised the director to pay attention to his longtime friend, Hugh Jackman, who was in London at the time playing in Oklahoma. Therefore, the actor was invited to audition. However, his schedule complicated these processes. For the first audition, Hugh had to run in between the morning and evening performances, and his appearance confused the casting directors a little. They were interested in Jackman, but advised him to change his hairstyle and get rid of the southern cowboy accent. Meanwhile, everything went pretty well, and the creators of the upcoming film wanted to send him to America for a second audition. Jackman hesitated because of his obligations to the Oklahoma team. In the end, they agreed to send him by plane to America, where the actor made a positive impression on the producers. However, 6 months have passed since that, and Jackman's not been told anything. 20th Century Fox executives really wanted Scottish actor Dougray Scott for the role of Logan, but the actor was stuck in Australia filming scenes for Mission Impossible 2. Production on X-Men had already begun and Singer didn't have Wolverine. The director suspected that something was wrong, so he sent a costume designer to Australia, ostensibly to get pictures of clothes for the film, but in fact it was done in order to find out what was going on. It turned out that Dougray was involved in a motorcycle accident while filming the climax of the Mission Impossible 2. Because of this, the producers of X-Men had to quickly find someone else. Of course, the choice fell on Jackman, and so the legendary Wolverine, whom we know and love, was born. An amusing incident happened to the actor at the airport after the last audition for X-Men. The last casting took place in Toronto. Hugh had just been approved for the role, and he had to return to Los Angeles to pick up his things and then fly back to Canada the next day for the start of filming. Since he's an Australian and his Canadian visa was not done in time, he was advised to tell customs that he just flew into audition to avoid legal problems. However, at that last moment, the actor panicked and did not look confident. When he was asked by the customs officer why he had already gone to the casting a week ago, Jackman told the whole truth that he was going to the shooting. He was taken to a special room where his fate was decided for an hour and a half. Hugh was forbidden to call, threatened with prison and deportation. Finally, it was decided to put him back on the plane and send him to the USA. Out of curiosity, the customs officer still asked what the role was.
And I said, well, it's X-Men. It's like a comic book. He goes, what? I said, he goes, what do you mean, like the animation thing, X-Men? And I goes, well, no, they're doing a live action version of it. He goes, what? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, what did you audition for? And I said, it's a character called Wolverine. He goes, what? And he literally looked at me, and then he just saw all his mates. He goes, hey, Jimmy, it's Wolverine! It's Wolverine!
Initially, Jackman had no idea how he would portray his character. After all, he'd never read the X-Men comics and knew nothing about his character. The actor did not even realize that the Wolverine is a real animal because they're not found in Australia and he has never heard of them. Therefore, Hugh began to study the behavior of wolves, thinking that his character was half wolf. So, I went to set with all these wolf moves and I was doing these moves and the director said, "What are you doing?" Jackman recalled, quote, and I said, "Well, I was just thinking wolves are always looking like this because they're actually smelling. They've got their nose to the ground. That's why they're looking like this all the time." And he goes, "What do you mean a wolf?" And I said, "Well, you know, Wolverine. I'm part wolf, so." And he goes, "No, you're a Wolverine." The role was not easy for Jackman. First of all, because he had few lines, but they needed to portray maximum emotions. To prepare for filming, he watched Clint Eastwood's play in Dirty Harry and Mel Gibson's one in Mad Max 2. Although the main actors also had little dialogue, like Wolverine, they managed to convey everything emotionally, capturing the viewer's attention. Additionally, Hugh was adamant about doing his own stunts for the film. He worked a lot on Wolverine's movement style and studied martial arts. Hugh also watched a lot of Mike Tyson's fights, especially the early ones. There's something about his style, the animal rage, that seemed right for Wolverine. I kept saying to the writers, don't give me the long, choreographed fights for the sake of it. Don't make the fights pretty. Jackman also had to get used to wearing Wolverine's claws. Every day in his living room, he just walked around with these claws to get used to them. He had scars on his leg, on his cheek, and on his forehead. The actor is a little clumsy in life, which he repeatedly emphasized in interviews, but he deliberately missed the detail during the audition for the role. Otherwise, who knows if the movie makers would have agreed to entrust him with such a character. However, it was not only Jackson who was injured. During the filming of one of the fight scenes, the actor accidentally stabbed a stunt woman who was replacing Mystique with a knife in the hand. She looked at the wound, and instead of being scared or crying, she said, "Yes, I have been stabbed by Wolverine." Problems during the shooting also appeared due to Jackman's tall stature. The fact is that Hugh's height is 6'3", which is a foot higher than the height of his character in the original comic. Therefore, cameramen were often forced to shoot the actor from unusual angles or only from the waist to make him look lower than he really is, and his colleagues wore wedge shoes. The thin Jackman also needed to pump up. His main dish at that time was chicken, for which Hugh, giving an interview, jokingly apologized to vegetarian activists. "I'm so sorry to all the vegans and vegetarians, and to the chickens of the world. Literally, the karma is not good for me. If the deity has anything related to chickens, I'm in trouble." The actor woke up at 4 a.m. for his first breakfast and ate every 3 hours. "This is a good way to my heart," he says. "What you eat is everything. I always thought it was about lifting harder, heavier, longer. Now I think you have to eat more and eat leaner." The daily rate of 6,000 calories and exhausting training did its job, and Jackman's Wolverine turned out to be threatening and impressive. However, not everyone believed in the nature of such a ripped body without auxiliary means. Hugh was often suspected of using steroids, to which the actor replied, "No, I love my job and I love Wolverine. I've got to be careful what I say here, but I have been told anecdotally what the side effects are of that, and I was like, I don't love it that much. So no, I just did it the old school way." X-Men achieved success at the box office, earning $296 million, and paved the way for the other films of the franchise, which was so loved by connoisseurs of Stan Lee comic books. And the role of Wolverine brought the star the Saturn Award for Best Actor. While Jackman was gradually gaining international recognition, problems began in his family. Deb couldn't get pregnant, and the couple really wanted to have children of their own. After a while, they even tried IVF, but the woman had several miscarriages. It was a very painful period for the couple. At the same time, they finally decided that they would adopt, although the couple had been thinking about it long before the miscarriages. So in 2000, there was a replenishment in their family. A son, Oscar, who was born on May 15th of the same year. The actor shared in an interview that all the heartache of miscarriage just melted away. Both Hugh and Deb were present during the birth of their son, being with their biological mother at birth. During delivery, Deb and I were there holding hands. Then I said, "Do you mind if I go to the business end?" The birth mother said, Whatever. Off you go." She was a bit of a shy woman, but she'd had an epidural by that point. It was an amazing experience to watch the birth. The actor recalled in an interview. Inspired by his new role of the father, Jackman did not forget about cinema. So he played the role of Leopold in the 2001 romantic comedy Kate and Leopold, for which he received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor. In the film, Hugh plays a Victorian English duke who travels back in time to 21st century Manhattan, where he meets Meg Ryan in the role of Kate, a cynical advertising manager. By the way, it was Meg Ryan who interested the actor in yoga. Thanks to it, he could briefly separate from reality and relieve tension from the crazy filming schedule. In addition, Hugh's been practicing transcendental meditation since he was 20 years old. Nothing has ever opened my eyes like transcendental meditation has. It makes me calm and happy and, well, it gives me some peace and quiet in what's a pretty chaotic life. Every day at dawn and sunset, he sits down for half an hour and tries to get in touch with all his 5 senses. In meditation, I can let go of everything. I'm not Hugh Jackman. I'm not a dad. I'm not a husband. He talks about this experience. I'm just dipping into that powerful source that creates everything. I take a little bath in it. Oscar asks me, "What's meditation?" I say, "I'm just going to go sit with God and have a rest." Occasionally, he'll sit with me.
The feeling of it is being yourself, completely yourself at home, not burdened by the gotta mind. I got to do this. I should do this. I got to be doing this. I got to be doing this. Is who I should. That seems to run all the time. And with meditation, I feel it just go away, and I just can be myself.
By the way, Hugh takes mental health issues very seriously, and even started helping the David Lynch Foundation to bring meditation to everyone from PTSD sufferers to inner city kids. He's also an advocate of psychological practices because at one time it was sessions with a psychologist that helped the actor overcome his abandonment issues related to his mother. In the same 2001, Jackman starred in the action/drama Swordfish with John Travolta and Halle Berry. Here, he played the role of a cyber hacker who became famous for infecting the FBI's carnivore program with a computer virus. This was the second time Jackman had worked with Berry, and they worked together 3 more times in X-Men films. And the actor also became the host of the festive episode of the famous US comedy TV show Saturday Night Live. There, he talked about the funny customs of celebrating Christmas in Australia, where instead of Santa, a kangaroo comes to the children, and also played in several funny sketches.
Peterson family. I am Francisco, and this is Paolo. See, only you can never call me Paolo, ever.
Such a frequent change of the actor's image could not but surprise the audience. Journalists then asked the actor how he chooses such diverse roles. "I'm always looking for things that I haven't done before, that challenge me, that scare me," Jackman says. And by the way, when I did Wolverine, it always scared me too. That's a million miles away from who I am as well. In 2002, Jackman briefly returned to the stage when he performed the role of Billy Bigelow in the musical Carousel at a special concert performance at Carnegie Hall with the orchestra. The following year, the actor was involved in 2 blockbusters at once. He reappeared as Wolverine in the movie X-Men 2, and in parallel, he played the main role of the monster killer in the film Van Helsing. Filming sometimes overlapped. So, for example, the penultimate scene of X-Men 2 where Cyclops, Wolverine, and Professor X were discussing Jean Grey was shot when Hugh had a day off on another set. The film's director, Stephen Sommers, wanted to cast Jackman as Gabriel Van Helsing after seeing his performance in Oklahoma. Although the roles of cowboy and vampire slayer had nothing in common, Sommers immediately recognized that Jackman has the charisma needed for a main character. So, the actor was approved very quickly.
Some say you're a murderer, Mr. Van Helsing. Others say you're a holy man. Which is it?
It's a bit of both, I think.
Ironically, due to his obligations to Sommers, Hugh was unable to play the lead role in the film The Phantom of the Opera, which is still considered the first classic Universal Studios movie. Jackman's sporting background helped him with most of the scenes there too. After all, for example, he had to use a crossbow, which weighed about 45 pounds. There were also a lot of fights in the pictures. For one of them, actor Schuler Hensley, who played the role of Frankenstein's monster, acted as an understudy for the computer Mr. Hyde. Hensley had to put a cardboard mask with Hyde's face on his face to make it easier for Hugh to get into character by looking at him. But the scene where Carl gives Gabriel vampire fighting gear is a tribute to the routine in most James Bond films where Q equips Agent 007 with all the latest technological gadgets for the next mission. This reference to the legendary James Bond was due to the fact that earlier that year, Jackman was asked to consider taking on the role of James Bond. However, the actor refused due to other obligations. In an interview with the British Press Association in 2011, Jackman said, "I was about to shoot X-Men 2 and Wolverine had become this thing in my life, and I didn't want to be doing 2 such iconic characters at once." However, perhaps he would have been a wonderful 007 agent, taking into account his elegance, sophistication, unique charisma, and also his love of martinis. In an interview, the actor admitted that this is his favorite thing for lunch, as well as burgers. However, back to Van Helsing. As in X-Men, the actor was again faced with the problem of height. However, this time, David Wenham, who played the role of Carl, had to be significantly lower than Hugh's character. In fact, the difference in height between the 2 actors was not too noticeable. To preserve the original plot, Wenham had to slouch or squat all the time, while Jackman had to wear high-heeled shoes. Good camera work also helped with the perspective, and Carl came out much smaller than Van Helsing. There were also accidents during filming, again related to Hugh's clumsiness. The actor broke the arm of an extra who was performing a stunt in a scene with him. It's reported that the extra ran away, fearing that he would be fired for interfering with the star. Jackman said about this, quote, "I broke an extra's hand on this thing. I was getting lifted and propelled and couldn't stop. I put my hand out and felt this guy crumple in front of me." There was no other news about the extra in the film, but the way Jackman told the story, looks like the extra kept his job. Despite the rather vivid plot, the use of special effects, and decent acting, it was not possible to break a big jackpot on the first weekend. Although the film subsequently grossed $300 million at the box office, the filmmakers hoped for significantly larger profits. There was talk of an NBC television series, Transylvania, based on the picture, as well as a possible sequel was discussed, and there were even negotiations with Guillermo del Toro as director. But these ideas are not destined to become reality, partly because of the small success of the box office, and partly because of the large funds needed for production. Would you have watched the sequel to Van Helsing if it had been made? Write to us in the comments. It would be interesting to know your opinion. In 2003, Jackman returned to his element, to the theater stage. He won Tony and Drama Desk Awards for Best Actor in a Musical. Hugh played the role of the Australian composer and performer Peter Allen on Broadway in the popular musical The Boy from Oz. By the way, Jackman also played in this musical in Australia in 2006.
The most fun I ever had was playing Peter Allen in The Boy from Oz. There was roughly 10 or 12 minutes of every show that was completely ad-libbed, and once I was 50 or 60 shows in and I felt completely free to do whatever the hell I wanted, man, if I look back, I had a blast. I was an asshole.
In addition, Jackman was the host of the Tony Awards ceremony in 2003, 2004, and 2005, receiving positive reviews. His role as the host at the 2004 Tony Awards earned him an Emmy Award for Outstanding Individual Performer in a Variety, Musical, or Comedy Program. Hugh admitted that it was during the play The Boy from Oz that he felt like a real actor. All the time before, he'd been telling his wife that he could try something else at any moment. During Oz, though, I had moments of feeling completely at home on stage. Then, when I hosted the Tony Awards, I thought, here I am at Radio City Music Hall, and I feel like I'm with a bunch of my friends. It just felt so natural, he recalled. However, 2005 was marked for the family not only by career achievements, but also by another replenishment in the family. The Jackmans adopted a girl named Ava. Hugh and Deb raised their children, trying to instill their culture in them. When my son was younger, he found out he was part Bosnian, so we went and got the Croatian/Bosnian cookbook, and he was very proud to carry that around when he was 7 years old. Deborah said, "My daughter has a Mexican lineage, so we've been to Mexico." Since childhood, the girl has shown herself to be very independent and has refused to be fed since she was 6 months old. She took a spoon in her hand and tried to eat it herself. As she got older, Ava also became very neat. She goes around the house closing drawers, picking things up, Jackson said. Later, she also fell in love with school and couldn't wait to return there after the weekend or holidays. The girl grew up sociable and cheerful to the delight of her foster parents. She's loving life and she's so like Deb, Hugh noted. It's unbelievable to watch. He also adored his wife and repeatedly noted that their relationship only got deeper over the years and their bond got stronger. The actor did not hide the children behind a high fence, often taking them with him to interviews. Ava and Oscar have become an important part of their father's life, even more important in their career. Such an opinion was expressed by Oprah after one of her meetings with Jackman. In addition, the whole family often moved from place to place when their father was working on another project. Thus, they did not want to part for a long time and considered such a nomadic life better than a long separation. But Deb and I thought, at the time, I'm doing movies. The lesser of two evils is to have everyone together, says the actor. I'm not 100% sure, but sometimes stability may have been more beneficial. Family Ideal did not prevent the star from continuing his acting career. Together with Christian Bale and Scarlett Johansson, Jackman starred in Christopher Nolan's 2006 mystery drama The Prestige. Jackman played Robert Angier, an aristocratic wizard who began a rivalry with Alfred Borden, who was played by Bale, trying to defeat the art of deception.
1, 2, 3, go. Oh, that's bloody marvelous, Connor.
After reading the script, Jackman expressed interest in starring the film, and Nolan saw the character qualities in the actor. In order to get used to the role, Hugh took as a basis the American magician Channing Pollock of the 1950s. Ricky Jay, who played the magician in this film, coached Jackman and Bale, teaching them sleight-of-hand techniques. In addition to portray the double of his character, the actor had to wear special prosthesis for earlobes, while for the game of Angier himself, these prostheses were removed. The Prestige received recognition and success at the box office. Interestingly, in the same year, Jackman and Johansson starred together again in another film about magicians, Woody Allen's crime comedy Scoop. Stepping back a bit from cards and magic tricks, Jackman also played 3 different characters in Darren Aronofsky's science fiction film The Fountain. The first was Tommy Creo, a neuroscientist torn between his wife Izzy, dying of a brain tumor, and his work to treat her. The second was the Captain Tomás Crio, the Spanish conquistador in Seville in 1532, and the third was future astronaut Tom, who traveled to the Golden Nebula on an eco-spaceship seeking to reunite with Izzy. Jackman said that The Fountain was the most difficult film for him because of the physical and emotional demands of the role. In the same year, he reprised the role of Wolverine in the film X-Men: The Last Stand and ended 2006 with 2 animated films. There was Happy Feet, directed by George Miller, in which he voiced the role of Memphis, the Emperor Penguin, and Flushed Away, where Jackman voiced a rat named Roddy who was washed away in a toilet bowl in the London sewer system. In 2007, Jackman became a producer and guest on the television music drama series Viva Laughlin, which was canceled by CBS after 2 episodes. Critics' reaction to the show is mostly negative. The musical numbers were not criticized as much as the plot, dialogues, and acting. The show was the first project of Jackman's production company, Seed Productions, which he co-founded with Johnny Palermo back in 2005. Jackman's wife became the third partner in the company. Palermo made 3 rings with the word Unity engraved on them for himself, Furness, and Jackman. I'm very lucky in the partners I work with in my life, Deb and John Palermo. It really works. We all have different strengths. I love it. It's very exciting. At the same time, Hugh became the patron of the Actors Centre of Australia, where he once studied acting. In 2008, director Baz Luhrmann suggested that Jackman replace Russell Crowe for the male lead in his much-publicized epic film Australia, which also starred Nicole Kidman. Jackman played a tough, independent shepherd who reluctantly helped an English aristocrat in her attempts to save the Australian cattle station of her philandering husband and the mixed-race Aboriginal child she found there. About the film, Jackman said, quote, "This is pretty much one of those roles that had me pinching myself all the way through the shoot. I got to shoot a big budget, shamelessly old-fashioned, romantic epic set against one of the most turbulent times in my native country's history, while, at the same time, celebrating that country's natural beauty, its peoples, its cultures. I'll die a happy man knowing I've got this film on my CV." In the same year, People magazine named Jackman the sexiest man alive. However, the actor was calm about this title. He was an exemplary family man and gave all his attention and love to his family. The couple bought an estate in Sydney for $40 million to build a family nest there. A luxurious house with 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, a swimming pool, and a tennis court has become an ideal place for comfort for a star family. At the same time, Jackman did not stop in his acting career. He played with Daniel Craig on Broadway at the Schoenfield Theater in a limited engagement of the play A Steady Rain, which lasted from September 10th to December 6th, 2009. In the same year, the actor was the host of the Academy Awards ceremony, and with his participation, the prequel X-Men Origins Wolverine was released. Hugh also appeared in a cameo role as Logan in the 2011 film X-Men First Class. In addition to acting, Jackman also became involved in charity work. One of the actor's endeavors included opening the Laughing Man Coffee Fair Trade Company with former prosecutor David Steingard. The history of the company began on a small farm in a tiny village called Kosher, amidst the lush greenery of Ethiopia's Yirgacheffe region, where the famous Arabica coffee variety was born. In 2009, Hugh and Deb traveled to Ethiopia as global ambassadors for World Vision Australia. At the end of a long and grueling 7-hour cross-country trip, they arrived at the small village of Kosher. It was there that Hugh met a farmer named Dukale and his wife Agnes. Dukale grew delicious coffee and had a zero-carbon footprint using simple technology. Hugh worked with him on the farm, planted several coffee trees named after his children, Ava and Oscar, and had a great time with his family and community. He was very touched by Dukale's spirit, leadership, and laughter. According to Hugh himself, this meeting completely changed his vision of the world. He realized that such communities of coffee producers as in Kosher are everywhere, and their stories are worth telling about them. And, more importantly, their coffee needs to be tasted. And at that moment, the actor had an idea. What if the love of coffee is used for the well-being of those who produce it? With this thought in mind, Jackman returned to New York and discussed everything he saw with his family and friends. His friend David Steingard became interested in Hugh's idea, and thus the Laughing Man Coffee Company was born. Its goal was to, quote, provide a marketplace for farmers in developing countries to sell their goods to consumers in the U.S. I'm involved in so much because I think the biggest issue facing the planet is the planet, and not just the environment, humanity too. So I put my time and energy into all of these efforts. It's how I prefer to change things. The actor explains his position. The company's early work was limited. She focused mainly on buying coffee from Dukale and his community. Later, the founders began to help with donations that went to various needs of the community, such as healthcare, education, and coffee processing equipment. And Ducale himself even received 2 cows as a gift from Hugh. Jackman now gives 100% of his profits from selling coffee on the official website, as well as from 2 coffee shops located in Lower Manhattan, to the Laughing Man Foundation, which he created to support educational programs, community development, and social entrepreneurs around the world. A documentary film, Ducale's Dream, was even shot to promote this charity. Have you tried Hugh Jackman's famous coffee? If so, we want to know whether you liked it. Write about your experience in the comments. Jackman did not forget about the music scene in cinema. In May 2011, he had a personal performance at the Corinne Theater in San Francisco. The performance was a mix of his favorite Broadway and Hollywood musical numbers, assisted by a 17-piece orchestra from musicals including Oklahoma and The Boy from Oz. The show lasted about 100 minutes and included a slideshow about Jackman's youth, family, and work. Hugh did not forget to communicate live with his audience, answering their questions and telling stories. Jackman was supported by musical theater veterans Merle Dandridge and Angel Rita. In between performances, Hugh participated in the filming of the comedy Butter and the science fiction film about robot fights Real Steel. The first film received mixed reviews from critics, but Jackman even won the People's Choice Awards in the Favorite Action Movie Star category for his role in the latter. He later returned to Broadway in the new show, Hugh Jackman, back on Broadway at the Broadhurst Theater. In November 2011, Jackman voiced the Easter Bunny in the animated film Rise of the Guardians. However, the real recognition in the actor's film career that year came after Jackman played the role of Jean Valjean in the adaptation of the musical Les Misérables by Tom Hooper. Interestingly, singer and actor Alfie Boe auditioned for the role of Valjean just before Jackman's audition. Alfie really hoped to get this role because he had already performed it at a concert for the 25th anniversary of the musical. But apparently, Hugh's charisma did its job because Hooper's choice fell on him. The picture promised to be special from the very beginning. For example, for musical films, all soundtracks are usually recorded several months in advance, and during filming the actors only imitate singing to a ready-made recording. However, in Les Misérables, almost every song was recorded live on set to convey the spontaneity of the performance. Everyone involved, from Hugh Jackman to Russell Crowe and producer Cameron McIntosh, praised this approach as it allowed them to focus more on their acting. They also praised director Tom Hooper for this attempt on such a scale. After all, no director had ever done anything like this before. Only the first song, Look Down, which takes place in the dockyard, had to be pre-recorded due to the noise of the water and other noises on stage. Besides the fact that the actors sang live, which allowed them to improvise, most of the movements were also spontaneous. In particular, Valjean's first solo soliloquy was shot using Steadicam and allowed Jackman to move as he saw fit to convey the heavy emotions of the scene.
What have I done, sweet Jesus? What have I done? Become a thief in the night, become a dog on the run.
Everyone's vocal exercises were also peculiar. The strangest, according to Jackman and his colleague Anna Hathaway, was the chant of Samantha Barks, who, instead of singing notes, meowed with different heights and frequencies. By the way, Hugh had a really friendly relationship with Hathaway long before filming, even after the Oscar ceremony in 2009, where Jackman was the host. Then, the actors played a scene about Nixon and sang together on stage. 2 years later, Anne was already a presenter at the Oscars, but this time Hugh refused to perform with her, so she sang the song On My Own as a playful rebuke to his colleague. Either feeling guilty or really from the bottom of his heart during the casting of Les Misérables, it was Jackman who suggested Hathaway for one of the main roles, and she was accepted. That later turns out to be a fateful decision in the career of an actress. The friendship between the two only strengthened during the filming. Later, the actress admitted that it was very easy to work with Hugh, and nothing could anger her colleague on the set, even endless rehearsals and the burden of responsibility. Each of the actors put a piece of themselves into their characters. Hugh lost a lot of weight and lasted 36 hours without water, so that his dehydrated face had the features of an emaciated prisoner. He also grew a real beard for Valjean's scenes as a prisoner, although they were shot first in production, and he could shave and return to his usual weight for scenes where Valjean played a rich man. Originally, for his first opening scene, Jackman was supposed to be shirtless as a prisoner on a ship during a storm, but Jackman believed that this was a serious dramatic performance, and the demonstration of the muscles of the press in the first frames of the film would prevent this, and the audience would not take it seriously. So he went to the director and asked to change this moment. As a result, Jackman was wearing a shirt in the film, although his suit was torn in several places, showing hints of his muscular physique underneath. Later, several commercials of Jackman's original costume were published on the internet. They do show the actor in an open jacket with abs cubes peeking out, but this costume has never been used for filming. Hugh Jackman was in his element of movies and musicals and won the love of all the cast and crew. He even bought lottery tickets for all the extras who participated in Les Misérables in gratitude. The film premiered on December 25, 2012. Critics and viewers were delighted. The fees for the musical film were a record, earning its creators a tidy sum of $442 million.
Deal with this foreman. Be as patient as you can.
The film was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor in a leading role for Hugh Jackman. However, the film won only 3 categories: Best Supporting Actress for Anne Hathaway, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, and Best Sound Mixing. However, Jackman was not left with nothing, having received the Golden Globe Award. In 2013, Hugh noticed strange spots on his face. Deb advised him to see a doctor. The star was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma. The actor did not panic, but immediately began treatment for skin cancer, which was detected at an early stage. He went through the removal of basal cell carcinomas from his nose 5 times and expected relapses in the future. This led to Jackman attending many world premieres of his own films, including X-Men Days of Future Past, with a bandage on his nose. Of this, he jokes, quote, "People presume actors are very vain, but I told the doctor to make it an even bigger scar. Go about 45 degrees up, then a little tilt down. I've always wanted one of those." Since then, the star's been regularly going for checkups every 3 months. Hugh openly talks about his struggles on Instagram and often posts photos showing his scars and bandages after treatment. Jackman noted that when it comes to skin cancer, basal cell carcinoma is the least dangerous of all. However, it's still important to use sunscreen. It is just not worth it, no matter how much you want to tan. In addition, he noted that what happened to him was due to constant exposure to the sun in childhood. "We didn't know about the ozone layer. I think there was something about sunscreen. I don't even remember my parents putting it on me. Maybe they did." So now the actor is very careful about his health and always applies sunscreen when leaving the house. His battle with cancer continued until 2023 when the actor announced that his latest scans showed no cancer cells. Despite the battle with the disease, the star was not going to stop in his acting career. In 2013, Jackman starred alongside Kate Winslet in the bizarre comedy anthology movie 43. Many Hollywood stars followed his example and also took part in this project. Some later regretted that they had agreed to such an adventure. After all, there the actors do not appear in their usual roles and satirically play various taboo topics and ridiculous situations. Movie 43 was harshly criticized, awarded 3 Golden Raspberries, and even won in the Worst Film category. Despite this, it paid off $6 million in budget, earning more than $30 million. The actor continued his collaboration with SNL, so in June 2013 he recorded vocals for the song "You've Got the Look" by the comedy hip-hop group The Lonely Island, which was included on their 3rd record, The Whack Album. Hugh then returned to his usual superhero role in the 2013 film The Wolverine, a separate sequel after the events in the film X-Men The Last Stand. A year later, he reprised the role of his character in the sequel, X-Men Days of Future Past, and 2 years later appeared in the next film, X-Men Apocalypse, although this time in a cameo role. And even though filming took up a lot of his time, he couldn't wait to return to his element, to the theater stage. So in 2014, Jackman performed on Broadway in the play The River, which was at the Circle in the Square Theater until February 2015. And after a short break in November of the same year, Jackman made a national tour of Australia with his show Broadway to Oz. He has performed a number of Broadway musical songs from Les Misérables to a Peter Allen tribute, including such classics as I Still Call Australia Home, with his 150-piece orchestra, choir, and dancers. The show began at Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne and continued at Qantas Credit Union Arena, Brisbane Entertainment Centre, Adelaide Entertainment Centre, and Perth Arena. Jackman then played the black-bearded villain in the film Pan, which revolved around the backstory of J.M. Barrie's characters Peter Pan and Captain Hook. Actor Garrett Hedlund was thrilled with his co-star when he trained with him for their fight scenes. Hugh's amazing. He sets a standard for young males all over the place. He puts 110% into everything he does, including fitness. The actors worked with a coach. They also spent a lot of time together in the gym. Hedlund also noted that it's a lot to keep up with, but it's wonderful to see someone who works out as hard as he does. It's inspiring. Despite the attempts of director Joe Wright and the entire cast, the film was the biggest disappointment of 2015. The reviews were negative, and the film failed at the box office, collecting less than $130 million, with $250 million spent on production and advertising. Wright even wanted to give up his future career because of this failure. The reasons for this failure were different. Someone blamed the unsuccessful cast, where even Jackman's stardom could not help the entire film. Someone saw a problem in Hugh's own game, and someone did not understand the use of the songs of the group Nirvana and the Ramones in the adaptation of a children's fairy tale. Well, there are setbacks in every actor's career, and Jackman was no exception. However, the actor was not going to give up filming because of this. And already in 2016, he played the fictional ski coach Bronson Perry in the movie Eddie the Eagle, which shows how Eddie the Eagle Edwards became the first athlete to represent Great Britain in ski jumping in 1988.
That's what I'm talking about. That was better, wasn't it? Bo Derek. Yeah, baby.
In the same year, he returned to filming his, at that time, last X-Men movie. Back in 2015, Jackman announced that the 2017 sequel to Wolverine, Logan, would be the last where he would play this role. In connection with this statement, MTV UK asked the actor who he would like to replace himself with if the younger version of the character is reinterpreted. Although Jackman joked about not wanting to give the producers any ideas about replacing him, he said Tom Hardy remains his favorite. Jackman's game and the picture itself were critically acclaimed. Logan is considered one of the best superhero movies of all time. During his 17-year role as Wolverine, Jackman topped the Hollywood Reporter's greatest superhero movie performances of all time. And the actor even got into the Guinness World Records for longest career as a live-action Marvel superhero, as he was the only character/actor who appeared in all parts of the X-Men series. In frequent interviews, Hugh was asked if his children associated him with Wolverine.
I remember my son having a friend come over. He was about 13.
Yeah.
And the guy was peppering him with Wolverine questions over and there was, my son was saying nothing. And I'm in the room next door and finally I hear this, listen, my dad is nothing like Wolverine. He is not tough. He's not cool. Don't ask me any more about it, right?
Although Oscar didn't really consider his father a star, the situation changed when he became interested in girls. One day, Hugh and his son were on the beach. Oscar, being a 13-year-old boy, talked to a girl a little older than him and then went to his father. He came up to me and he started walking ahead of the girl, Jackman said in an interview. And he goes, Dad, she's coming over. I told her you're Wolverine, just go with it. I was like, I am the wingman for my 13-year-old boy. But his daughter Ava became a real fan of Jackman's next film, the musical The Greatest Showman, where her dad played Phineas Barnum, the co-founder of the Barnum and Bailey Circus. Quote, my daughter said, this is the best movie you've ever done. The actor said. So that was nice. However, Ava forbade her father to record songs for the film, instead suggesting that he only open his mouth to the music. All this was connected with another operation of the actor to remove the basal cell carcinoma. The star was given 80 stitches and the doctor forbade him to sing. Jackman followed the doctor's recommendations until it came to the last song, From Now On, which Hugh still decided to sing. After singing half a song, he noticed that his nose was bleeding. Therefore, his daughter, who spent a lot of time with the actor on the set, closely monitored the health of her father. And another reason for Ava's frequent appearance on set was Zendaya, her favorite celebrity, who co-starred with Jackman in the musical. The Greatest Showman has been Hugh Jackman's dream project since 2009. According to the star, the 9-year film development process was partly due to studio's unwillingness to risk the original musical. Interestingly, the green light was given to the picture by only one song called This Is Me. It was written literally during a 2-hour flight of its authors to a meeting at the 20th Century Fox studio. This song was later nominated for an Oscar and a Grammy, and won a Golden Globe. Hugh met the film's director, Michael Gracie, on the set of an advertisement. The actor told a new acquaintance that he wanted to make a film and saw him as a director. Gracie took such an offer with disbelief because every famous person he worked with offered something similar, but it usually did not go beyond the conversation. To his surprise, the star later sent him the script for The Greatest Showman. Jackman admitted that this film was the most difficult one he was preparing for, even compared to Logan. During his role, he read about 36 books about Barnum to better understand his character. In addition, he did not forget to help his colleagues on the set. For example, actress Rebecca Ferguson admitted in an interview that she was very worried when she had to sing in front of a packed house and the entire film crew. She said that it was Jackman and his encouraging reaction to her performance that really helped her at the time. The work of the actors and the filmmakers was not in vain. Although with the beginning of the screenings, the fate of the musical was not so clear. Entertainment journalists called the film a flop after it debuted in 4th place in the United States with a paltry $9 million, significantly behind the 8th episode of Star Wars. However, thanks to word of mouth, people heard about the picture and rushed to the cinemas. The Greatest Showman remained in the top 10 at the highest box office for 11 weeks. In April 2018, it was still in wide release, and 20th Century Fox was actually forced to remove it from cinemas in order to fulfill contractual agreements with companies such as Sky Movies and reach a publicized DVD release date. Screenings finally ended in July after an impressive 8 months because most films close after 3. In total, the film grossed $435 million against a budget of $84 million and became the 3rd highest grossing musical in North America, including the world as a whole.
This is for you.
What will you be doing?
Watching my girls grow up.
A nice bonus was also the release of an album with soundtracks for the film, which became the best-selling album in the world in 2018. Hugh Jackman was also not left without nominations and critical acclaim. The actor was nominated for Teen Choice Awards as well as a Golden Globe Award for his Showman. The frenzied success of the film did not make the actor rest on his laurels. In the same year, he played the role of American Senator Gary Hart in the Jason Reitman's political drama The Frontrunner. It tells about Hart's formation as a presidential candidate from the Democratic Party in 1988 and his subsequent loss of favor when there have been reports of his extramarital affairs in the media. The movie received generally positive reviews. In order to play this role, the actor had to complete a crash course in studying the American political system. He listened to Hart's performances during training sessions at the gym and even met him, being very impressed by this meeting. Hugh calls the senator mysterious and elusive, one of the smartest American politicians in the last 50 years. He was kind of a rock star within Washington, laughs Jackman, but it is frightening, a real responsibility. I take every job seriously, but telling real-life stories is different. When you're depicting somebody's legacy, their life, it's very complex and potentially painful for everyone involved. Hugh also voiced the character Sir Lionel Frost in the animated film Missing Link, which was even nominated for an Oscar in the category Best Animated Feature Film. In 2019, Jackman embarked on his first world tour called The Man, the Music, the Show. There, he performed songs from the album The Greatest Showman, original motion picture soundtrack, Broadway, and Hollywood musical numbers. The tour included 88 concerts in North America, Europe, and Australia. The actor also appeared in the HBO comedy drama Bad Education as a school inspector who, along with his assistant, stole millions of dollars from their wealthy state school district and tried to cover up the theft. Critics were delighted with the film and the actor himself, saying, quote, "Anchored by an outstanding Hugh Jackman, Bad Education finds absurd laughs and a worthy message in the aftermath of a real-life scandal." In the same year, in honor of the Queen's birthday, Jackman was appointed a Companion of the Order of Australia for eminent service to the performing arts as an acclaimed actor and performer and to the global community, particularly as an advocate for poverty eradication. The actor treats his popularity and stardom calmly, believing that acting is the same profession as others. "And I very rarely feel the burden of my fame," he says, stressing that, quote, "life under the microscope does not bother him." Hugh has been able to find his own balance between fame and personal life and sees nothing wrong with sharing a lot with others. He considers social networks to be a kind of secret weapon in this. Now his number of subscribers exceeds 5 tens of millions, and on his accounts you can find much of the personal life of a movie star. The only thing that confuses an actor is when he is praised. When a director compliments me, I want to say, "Don't do that, man. The next take's not going to be as good." Well, before you move on to the most interesting details of the life of our current showman, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell so as not to miss new videos on our channel. We try to make high quality and interesting content for you, and we'll be grateful for your support. The pandemic years have affected both the film industry and Jackman's career in particular. However, after a short pause, the actor returned to the widescreens in Florian Zeller's film The Son. It was an adaptation of the play of the same name by Zeller himself. In the film, Hugh played a successful lawyer with a teenage son from a previous marriage who suffered from depression. Jackman spoke to the BBC about the theme of the film and shared that returning to acting after he did not work during quarantine due to COVID-19 caused him anxiety. But it was he who first showed interest in filming and offered his candidacy. Later in the interview, Hugh said that he felt an urgent need to play this role.
Human being, I felt there was something very urgent about the story. A conversation that needs to happen.
So he sent an email to Florian. "Listen, if you're dancing with someone else, I don't want to cut in. But if you're not, I would love to play the part." But the director replied that he had no one in mind and offered to meet. The next day, only 7 minutes of conversation were enough for Zeller to offer the actor to play the main role. The director recalled how the actor asked him for 10 minutes to explain why he should take part in the project. Quote, "I was really moved. I have to say, by his humility, his honesty, and his capacity to express his desire." He said, Hugh remembered.
And the next day we met on Zoom. I remember being equal parts terrified to get the part and terrified not to get the part. My heart was, I was already invested. I really wanted it. It's hard to get rejected when you really want something. That doesn't matter who you are. But I also knew the role and the film itself would be very challenging and take me to places that I had not had the opportunity to go to before as an actor.
And then, during the filming, his father died, who had been living with Alzheimer's disease for 12 years. "My father actually never missed a day of work in his life," Jackman says, explaining why he did not take any time off to grieve. "I did imagine what my father would say, and he would say, 'Go to work.'" Jackman has admitted more than once that his father taught him really important values. Chris has never been interested in things like fame and money. He always encouraged children to get educated, treated people well, and kept his words. His father visited Hugh on set, where he sat quietly doing crosswords or Sudoku. He occasionally glanced at Jackman to give him the thumbs up. "He saw everything I ever did. He never said a bad word about anything," says Jackman. "A lot of who I am today is because of him." However, acting in the drama The Son was difficult. It was not only a significant break in work due to COVID that was affected. The work on the film was technically and emotionally difficult. Personal childhood traumas, parental worries, and experiences began to emerge. Jackman suffered from sleepless nights playing the role of Peter, a workaholic with a new partner, their young child, ex-wife, and their troubled teenage son. "That's a new thing for me. I was thinking about it and dreaming about it. I was more of a hot mess in this than in anything I've ever done," he admitted. Zeller was impressed by the actor's emotionality during the work. He was not trying to hide himself behind the character. He was open to explore his own emotions in order to be as truthful as possible, which is very courageous for an actor. He said, in an interview, the actor admitted that this role changed him. As a man, as an actor, as a father, as a husband, he rethought his role as a father. "I thought my job was to project confidence and safety," he says. And there's an element of that, I guess, that's true, but I think now, particularly as they're older, being more open on my vulnerability, letting them in on what's going on inside of me, is something I've learned, and I would do it differently now. The actor also said that he continues to consult with therapists who help them on filming. That's all because the producers of the film hired psychiatrists to shoot, in case the members of the cast and crew needed to talk about disturbing materials. While intimacy instructors have become commonplace when shooting intimate scenes, Jackman also stands for maintaining mental health. I think it certainly would be a sign from an employer that we understand taking care of the whole person. Not just paying them, but taking care of their well-being in all forms is really, really important. Jackman hoped The Son would spark conversations about mental health issues that are urgently needed. For the actor himself, this work has become an important stage of development and personal opportunities. Until now, he has not had to play a role with such an intense and deep emotional range. "The thing I love most about acting is the variety of it," he said. The film premiered at the Venice Film Festival. Critics' opinion about it were divided. Some noted the depth of the plot and the problems raised in the film. Others called it a depressing film about depression. Anyway, for the role of Peter, the actor was nominated for a Golden Globe Award. At the same time, Jackman began to stand for a gender-neutral category in awards, in which all actors will compete regardless of gender. Quote, "That would be a really positive step," says the star. "I don't understand why it's split into just two genders when we all know it's a much bigger spectrum." The actor said that he invited his children to the premiere of the film and The Son made a great impression on them. Afterwards, we were in the car driving back and my wife said, "What do you guys think?" My son said, "I think I need a little more time to think about it." That night, we probably sat there and talked for 2 hours, he recalled. The actor considers discussing various issues with children to be an important part of parenting, especially if it's a mental health issue. This, according to the actor, is a great privilege of the modern generation. After filming The Son, Hugh returned to Broadway in the renewed play The Music Man, which previews began back in December 2021 and ran from February 2022 to January 2023. The actor received his second Tony Award nomination for Best Actor in a Musical for his performance. The play received mixed reviews, but was a success with the audience. But in 2023, fans of X-Men, and in particular Wolverines, heard the good news. Jackman will again play a charismatic mutant in the new film, Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These two have been stoking interest in their duo for a long time, and even started a real internet war. The actors met back in 2009. Jackman played the main mutant in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and Reynolds played the role of Wade Wilson. According to a recent interview with the Daily Beast, that's how they met and started their fake feud. It's gone back so long now. God, this is a classic sign where your feud has gone too long, or you don't even know why or how it started. The actor said, according to him, at that time, he was a very good friend of Scarlett Johansson, who was married to Reynolds. Hugh warned Ryan that he would be in trouble if he insulted his friend. That's when it all started. The actors often picked on each other about their titles of sexiest men because Jackman received this title in 2008 and Reynolds in 2010. Ryan once even asked to vote for him using an Australian accent and wearing Deadpool makeup. A month before the release of the first Deadpool, Reynolds shot a promotional video in which he congratulated everyone on Australia Day. In the image of Deadpool, he said, "It's almost Australia Day. But seriously, I fit right in with your proud nation. Only one tiny problem. You gave us Wolverine, and for that, I can't forgive you." And then he continued, "I've got no problems with Hugh. I mean, he's a delightful guy. He really is. True legend. But the movie, that was a career low for me. You understand." During the promotion campaign for his film Eddie the Eagle, Reynolds interviewed Jackson jokingly, in which they teased each other. Ryan pretended that he'd never watched the movie, asked stupid questions as if from fans, and joked that his wife, Blake Lively, had an affair with Hugh. Reynolds even managed to bring their feud to the Deadpool movie by putting Jackman's paper face on the mask. He also did not remain in debt, and in honor of awarding Reynolds a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, he published a video with a paper face of his so-called enemy. Ryan loved the joke about Jackman on Twitter, making fun of his fans, their marriage to Deb, which, according to Reynolds, should not have lasted more than 3 months. In interviews, Hugh often speaks very controversial about his opponent.
Ryan Reynolds takes up so much air in the room. It's crazy. It's just an insatiable need, vat of needs and wants.
In 2018, Jackman was honored to present the trailer for the movie Deadpool 2. In the video, the actor is sitting on the edge of the bed in a white bathrobe, and Reynolds, dressed in Deadpool's suit, interrupts him by singing the song Tomorrow from Annie. When the camera turns to Ryan, Jackman returns it to himself and says, "Yeah, don't give him too much attention." In addition, there's a scene in this sequel where Deadpool turns on the music box, which resembles the death scene of Wolverine from Logan. When Deadpool starts blowing himself up, he points his middle finger at the camera and says, "Fuck Wolverine." Well, guess what, Wolvie? I'm dying in this one too. In addition, there was also funny tweets at birthdays, referencing each other in interviews, gifts with subtext, and bullying in public. However, people began to realize that this internet war might not be serious, and the actors are actually good friends. So, in 2019, they starred in commercials to promote their companies, trolled each other on National Best Friends Day, and repeatedly appeared in photos at joint parties. In addition, Jackman supported his friend after Reynolds talked about his mental health, and he, in turn, surprised Hugh at the premiere of Music Man.
You walk in, there's flowers, there's cards, and of course, right in my makeup, where I put my makeup in the mirror, there was this.
This
Thank you,
photograph sent to you by
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
The photo was signed, "Hugh, good luck with your little show. I'll be watching." In September 2022, both actors announced that Wolverine would appear in Deadpool 3. Friends made a video to explain how this is possible, since technically Wolverine died in Logan. Logan takes place in 2029. Totally separate thing. Logan died in Logan. Not touching that. Reynolds explained, "What actually happens in our film is these two guys." Then his voice is drowned out by the Wham Band's song Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, and the actors are talking cheerfully about the plot of the upcoming movie. Since Hugh is repeatedly assured that he really finished playing Wolverine after 2017's Logan, the logical question arose as to why he decided to return to this film, to which he replied, "I just wanted to do it, and I felt it in my gut." According to Hugh, his friend likes shooting in the image of Deadpool so much that the actor decided, "I just wanted to do it, and I felt it in my gut. Plus," he adds, "I get to punch the shit out of Ryan Reynolds every day." After Disney acquired 20th Century Fox in 2018, the film rights to all X-Men characters, including Deadpool, returned to Marvel Studios. Although Ryan Reynolds continued to play his iconic role, any future films will be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And by the way, Deadpool 3 is the first R-rated film, actions of which is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Jackson took his role seriously and started following a 6,000-calorie protein diet again and working out intensively at the gym. He's ready to appear again in the image of the legendary Wolverine and prove to everyone that a career can be successful not only at a young age. However, behind the rapid success in show business, it turned out there were problems in the family. On September 15, 2023, fans of the Jackman-Furness star couple received a sad statement from them. After 27 years of marriage, the couple announced their divorce. We have been blessed to share almost 3 decades together as husband and wife in a wonderful, loving marriage. Our journey now is shifting, and we have decided to separate to pursue our individual growth. Our family has been and always will be our highest priority, they said in the statement. We undertake this next chapter with gratitude, love, and kindness. We greatly appreciate your understanding and respecting our privacy as our family navigates this transition in all of our lives. This is the sole statement either of us will make. These were the words that ended their statement. This news shocked everyone because 6 months ago in April, the Australian actors celebrated their 27th wedding anniversary, and Hugh once again confessed his love to his wife, posting a joint photo on his Instagram. Be that as it may, we would like to wish the Jackson couple the most painless divorce and a peaceful settlement of the situation in the family. And if you want to learn about the star couples who still manage to maintain family relations and carry their love throughout the years, click on the video that appeared on your screen and watch the story that we prepared for you. And don't forget to like this video. It was Biographer with you. See ya in the next video.